I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator, it's because he is. It's because he is. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Because we have to ferociously push back on this. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully.
Is there something going on that we're missing?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, whose balls is he hiding in his cheeks? That's the first question I want to know. And I don't love the way he says fierce.
Allegedly explosive clips are circulating tonight, and the internet is buzzing. Tyrus appears to go scorched earth on Minnesota's nice guy governor, Tim Walz, during a live segment that has fans stunned and timelines melting. We're not saying it happened exactly this way. We're breaking down what people are sharing, what's being claimed, and why the reaction feels like a reality TV reunion.
It's because he is. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Because we have to ferociously push back on this. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully, to watch this bully and to stop it. And when it's a child, you talk to them and you tell them why bullying's wrong. But when it's adult like Donald Trump, you bully the out of him.
You've gone off the rails. In the trending footage, you hear a low growl of studio chatter. Then Tyrus leans in with that heavyweight calm before the punchline. Your nice guy act is done. Chairs shift. A producer gasps. Comment sections ignite. Viewers say Walz tries a polite smile, but the room allegedly goes cold, like someone cut the AC and cranked the drama. You're not who you sell on camera. Tyrus supposedly fires back, while studio faces flick between shock and fascination. Was it a roast, a reveal, a carefully timed?
Is deeply part of it. That's one of the, I think it goes, and you can look at the reasons why we've had this sort of dialectic over the Me Too movement.
How do you fight it?
And well, this notion
I think
of
I could kick most of their.
What he's mad about is his own fault. He's mad about the image that was portrayed of him as the hunter. And who did that? You did that. We just laughed about it because the one thing you can't do is you can't front. You can't floss. Those are two key words.
Timed ambush? We'll stick to the claims swirling online. But if even half of what's being alleged is true, the aftermath could rattle more than a week's news cycle. Buckle up, emotions ran high, fans were shocked, and the Minnesota Nice brand just met its fiercest on-air skeptic. At least, according to the Buzz interview, 0.54120 it started quietly, like any other.
A teacher snatches the bully's ass up. Come sit with me. That's why I know someone's bullying. Oh, you can sit with me for a while. And then I would lean on him. I'd bully him back. He's not a teacher. He's not a politician. He's a creepy guy who can't remember his speeches. I don't know what the hell was in the water in that White House, or was everyone on the same bad cocaine? But Kamala can't speak, he can't speak. Biden was so high he couldn't remember anything. Like, this is literally the dumbest administration of all time. Why is he talking?
It really is the ultimate clown show, and I said this in the pod.
Another studio night. Bright lights, soft chatter, and that humming tension that always hangs in the air before the cameras roll. But then something changed. There was a stillness, a strange electricity, like everyone sensed a storm coming but didn't know which way it would break. Tyrus sat leaned forward, hands clasped, eyes sharp, the kind of body language that makes producers nervous. On the other
Son, bad for Elon. I would be furious if I was him. If this is who you sent to troll me?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing wrong to get the guy from D Team to come out at Family Theater and call me names?
Yeah.
Like, Tim, I would, if they were like, oh, Tyrus, man, tough news cycle. Tim Walz is talking about you. I'd be like,
other side, Tim Walz smiled that familiar calm smile, the same one that made people call him the nice guy governor. It was supposed to be a friendly segment, light political banter, maybe a few jokes about Midwest winters or football. Instead, it felt like a match was about to be struck over gasoline. The first words didn't sound dangerous. They rolled out easy, measured, but underneath, there was a pulse, a warning. Tyrus said something about performance politics, about how people are tired of politicians pretending to be something they're not. Walz chuckled politely, nodded, tried to steer the conversation toward unity. But then Tyrus tilted his head, half amused, half done with the act. Unity? He said, almost laughing. You call what's happening in Minnesota unity? The audience tensed. Walz blinked, smiled again, a little tighter this time. The studio air thickened. People later said it was the moment Walz's expression changed. Not dramatically, not in a big TV movie way, just a flicker. The way someone's eyes shift when they realize the conversation isn't friendly anymore. Tyrus leaned in, lowering his voice. "You talk about being the everyman," he said. "The teacher, the coach, the neighbor. But when the lights are off, who are you, really?" The words hit like a soft hammer, quiet but direct. Walz tried to respond. Something about transparency, about his record. But the audience could feel it. This wasn't an interview anymore. It was a confrontation. Cameras caught Walz blinking too long, searching for words that didn't sound rehearsed.
Tweets, my DMs, like just one arm, and I just want to slap the. He's so weak. He brings nothing. If you're gonna go after someone, man to man, hit him with a fact. Hit him with something real.
Yes.
You don't have anything. And here's the cold part. If Elon called him up and said, "Hey, Tim, you want a job?" he would take it. Because that's what spineless, he would, and when he was questioned, he was like, "I was just holding him in account. You know, I respect him, and I'm so happy to be working for X." He is the worst player on their team, and they don't mind sending him out because
They're trying to get him off the table.
Yeah.
They're putting him out early so he can't.
Pursed. Tyrus didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He just kept asking questions that sounded simple but cut deep. Why did small businesses shut down while the liquor stores stayed open? Why did parents feel ignored when classrooms fell apart? How does a teacher forget his own lessons when it's the students who pay? Interview 151-2. 19 rumors say even the camera crew went silent, unsure if they should keep filming. A stage manager whispered something through the earpiece. Probably move on. But Tyrus didn't move on. He smiled instead, the way someone smiles before the knockout line. "You know, you've sold America this image," he said softly. "The gentle dad next door, the guy who grills on weekends and waves at the mailman. But when people needed a leader, they didn't get a dad. They got a politician hiding behind a lawn chair." It wasn't just the words. It was the way he said them. Not shouting, not angry, just heavy, disappointed, like someone scolding a friend who should have known better. Walz tried to interject. Said something about misinformation, context. But the moment had shifted. Online, people would later describe it as the split second where the room changed temperature. Viewers at home started flooding comment sections. Did Tyrus just expose him? This feels personal. I've never seen Walz this shaken. The tension grew thicker when Tyrus brought up the protests. He didn't accuse directly. He framed it as a question, but the weight behind it was unmistakable. "People were scared," he said quietly. "They looked to you for calm, and they got confusion. Were you protecting them, or just protecting yourself?" Walz inhaled sharply, almost like he'd been punched but couldn't show it. His smile faltered for the first time. The famous teacher's calm gone. Interview 243-15. One of the panelists tried to shift topics, laughing nervously, mentioning sports to break the mood. But Tyrus waved it off. "No, let him answer," he said. "This is the stuff we're not supposed to talk about." Walz started explaining again. Statistics, decisions, all the things politicians are trained to say. But every word landed weaker than the one before. Tyrus didn't interrupt. He just stared, unimpressed, like he'd heard it all before. Then came the twist no one expected. Tyrus leaned back, crossed his arms, and said, "You ever wonder if being nice is just another form of manipulation?" The room froze. Walz blinked, unsure if he heard right. "You know," Tyrus continued, "when someone's too nice, too calm, too rehearsed, it's not authenticity. It's performance. It's control dressed up as kindness," the words echoed. Even the laughter track they usually added in post felt out of place now. This wasn't funny anymore. It was dissecting. Walz sat still, his hands folded, lips pressed tight. His team backstage must have been scrambling, texting producers, trying to decide whether to cut to break. But the director didn't dare. This was television gold. The kind of raw, unscripted confrontation that trends within minutes. And that's when things allegedly got personal. Tyrus mentioned selective empathy, how politicians show up for photo ops but disappear when the cameras turn off. He didn't name specifics, but fans online claimed they knew exactly what he was referring to. Community events where Walz smiled for the crowd, but avoided questions from victims' families. Walz shook his head, insisted that wasn't fair, but his voice trembled slightly and that was enough. Once viewers sense weakness, it becomes part of the story. Social media exploded within minutes. Hashtags formed. Clips spread with captions like "Tyrus ends the act" and "The moment the mask slipped." People debated whether Tyrus had gone too far or finally said what others were afraid to. Some called it courageous, others cruel, but everyone agreed on one thing: it was impossible to look away. Interview 3, 37-4. The next few minutes on air felt like slow motion. Walz tried to reclaim the space with calm reasoning, but Tyrus had already taken control. Every word Walz said became an opportunity for another punchline, another jab disguised as observation. "You talk about community," Tyrus said, "but half your state feels unseen. You say you're just a teacher at heart, but maybe it's time someone graded your performance." That last line hit hard. Someone in the audience gasped audibly. Even the co-host turned away, hiding a smile that wasn't supposed to be there. Walz exhaled slowly, the kind of breath that sounds like surrender. It wasn't that he'd been destroyed, it was that he'd been unmasked. His charm no longer worked. His rehearsed answers felt empty. And in that silence, Tyrus didn't gloat. He just sat back, letting the weight of his words settle over the room like dust. Outside, beyond the cameras, the chatter began immediately. Some said Walz held his dignity. Others said he looked lost. Clips spread faster than the network could control. Pundits began dissecting every gesture, every blink, every micro-expression. What did Tyrus mean by the act? What secrets was he hinting at? Was it satire or something darker? Nobody knew. But one thing was certain: the internet had found its new obsession. What started as a routine political discussion had turned into a viral clash of personalities, a collision of image and reality. Walz's supporters tried to spin it, saying he handled it gracefully. Tyrus's fans called it the most honest 5 minutes of television in years. Truth or exaggeration didn't matter anymore. The narrative had already taken on a life of its own. And as the show faded to its next segment, the camera caught one final image: Tyrus, expression unreadable, staring just off camera, as if he knew the storm he'd unleashed was only beginning. The internet would keep dissecting every word, every look, every pause, and somewhere in that tension between perception and truth, the legend of that night started to grow. Interview 541-627A. As the footage spread, the conversation stopped being about politics and started becoming about performance. People didn't just see a governor getting grilled. They saw a man being stripped of his carefully built image. Overnight, timelines filled with freeze frames of Tim Walz's face mid-reaction. Captions comparing him to every caught-off-guard meme you can think of. But behind the humor was something heavier. People weren't laughing just at the roast. They were questioning whether everything they'd believed about him had been a show all along. By morning, talk shows picked it up. Some hosts replayed the clip on loop, dissecting Tyrus's tone like it was a courtroom transcript. Others defended Walz, calling the moment an unfair ambush. One commentator said, "It's not what Tyrus said, it's that he said it out loud." And that seemed to sum it up. For years, everyone had whispered about the gap between Walz's public charm and his behind-the-scenes coldness. But this was the first time anyone had thrown it in his face on live television. Inside the governor's circle, things reportedly turned tense. Aides were divided. Some wanted to issue a statement condemning the broadcast, while others argued it would only fuel the story. Walz himself, sources claimed, stayed calm in public but was furious in private. A staffer allegedly overheard him muttering, "He doesn't know what he started." Another said he paced his office for hours, replaying the moment, trying to figure out how something so small had exploded so big. Tyrus, on the other hand, played it cool. In follow-up segments, he smiled that slow, confident smile, saying, "I just asked questions." But it was obvious he knew exactly what he'd done. This wasn't a spontaneous outburst. It was a calculated strike, a mix of comedy and confrontation designed to peel back the polish and make the audience feel complicit. He turned politics into a reality show, and viewers couldn't get enough. Then came the twist that turned the story from viral clip to full-blown drama. A reporter dug up an old recording from a community event, years back, where Walz was caught joking about optics and keeping the brand clean. It wasn't scandalous by itself, but when edited into a montage with Tyrus's accusations, it looked damning. Online posts started using words like proof and receipts. Even though the network later clarified the clip was taken out of context, the damage was done. Memes became narratives, and narratives started sounding like facts. In talk show green rooms, producers whispered about how this segment had become the week's top traffic magnet. "Every comment thread is a war zone," one said. Another laughed nervously. "We broke the internet with a joke that wasn't supposed to land." Tyrus doubled down on his next appearance, telling a laughing panel, If honesty makes you uncomfortable, maybe you're not used to hearing it. The audience cheered, but you could sense the undercurrent, a mix of thrill and unease. Back in Minnesota, Walz faced a different kind of storm. Local journalists started cornering him with questions that all stemmed from Tyrus's remarks. Do you think people see you as genuine? How do you respond to accusations of being too polished? Walz answered carefully, his tone measured, his words deliberate. But even his allies noticed something new in his voice. Fatigue, the kind that seeps in when you realize your biggest enemy isn't a rival party, but perception itself. That weekend, an anonymous post surfaced claiming to be from someone who'd worked closely with Walz. It described long hours, impossible schedules, and a team focused more on image than impact. No one could verify if it was real, but the story spread like wildfire. Comments flooded in, mixing outrage with disbelief. Maybe Tyrus was right, one user wrote. The nice guy act is marketing. Others pushed back, saying it was a smear campaign. But the damage wasn't about truth. It was about doubt. Once doubt settles in, even silence sounds like confession. And then, as if fate wanted to pour gasoline on the fire, a late-night comedian picked up the story. In his monologue, he reenacted the scene with exaggerated impressions. Tyrus, your nice guy act is done. Walz, but I brought potato salad. The audience roared with laughter. Walz, watching from somewhere in the governor's mansion, reportedly turned the TV off halfway through. That clip, too, went viral. Suddenly, what had started as political commentary had turned into national entertainment. Meanwhile, Tyrus began posting cryptic remarks online. Nothing direct, just enough to keep people guessing. One post read, "Truth hits different when you've been living a lie." Another simply said, "The act always ends." Each one sent comment sections into chaos. Fans flooded the replies, demanding more details. Pundits speculated about the next drop. Journalists tried to confirm if Tyrus had new information. He said nothing else. The silence only made it louder. Backstage insiders claimed the network was torn between celebrating the ratings and fearing a lawsuit. One producer was overheard saying, "We didn't plan this. We can't control it now." But by then, it didn't matter. The story had escaped the studio walls. It belonged to the audience now, the millions of people dissecting every second like detectives in a thriller. And somewhere amid all this noise, a quieter story started unfolding. Teachers who once admired Walz began sharing mixed feelings online. "I believed in him," one wrote, "but maybe I was seeing what I wanted to see." Others defended him, saying leadership is never black and white. And that's where the real emotional split happened. Not between Tyrus and Walz, but between the people watching. Fans were shocked. Families debated over dinner tables. Friendships cracked under the weight of argument threads. It wasn't just entertainment anymore. It was identity. As one analyst put it, Tyrus didn't destroy Walz. He made everyone question whether sincerity still exists in politics. That line went viral too, quoted in think pieces and reaction videos, because that was the heart of it. Whether Walz was guilty of anything didn't matter anymore. People just wanted to believe someone had finally pulled back the curtain. In the days that followed, every new clip, every statement, every rumor felt like another scene in a drama that refused to end. Tyrus stayed composed, letting the public play detective. Walz kept smiling for the cameras, even as the world whispered behind them. And somewhere between the glare of studio lights and the shadows of speculation, the story grew larger than both of them. Half fact, half fiction. All spectacle. The third act of the saga didn't arrive with a press conference or a scandal drop. It arrived with a silence, a calculated pause that stretched across the weekend. The kind of stillness that makes people start creating their own answers. Tyrus didn't post, Walz didn't speak, and yet their names trended nonstop. Screenshots from the show replayed on every feed. "Your nice guy act is done" had become the internet's favorite quote. Printed on memes, edited into remixes, and even whispered in comment threads like an inside joke that the whole world suddenly understood. Rumors began filling the gap. One tabloid claimed Tyrus was preparing to release part 2 of his on-air takedown, teasing that he had more to say. Others speculated that Walz's team had reached out behind the scenes, trying to smooth things over before the story got worse. Nobody knew what was true, but every headline added another layer to the drama. It wasn't about what had happened anymore. It was about what might happen next. Inside the governor's mansion, the mood was described as strained. Aides spoke in hushed tones. One source claimed Walz had started canceling public appearances, insisting it was just to focus on local policy. But everyone saw through it. The truth was, his once friendly media image had become a liability. Reporters wanted sound bites. Citizens wanted apologies. And every question started the same way. about what Tyrus said. Tyrus, meanwhile, showed up unbothered. He appeared on another show wearing his trademark smirk, joking, "Apparently, I'm trending in Minnesota. Didn't think that was possible unless you were a hockey player or a snowstorm." The audience laughed, but you could sense the control in his tone. He knew exactly how to feed the narrative without overplaying it. "Look," he said casually, "I didn't say anything people didn't already feel. I just said it out loud. It was part confession, part provocation." And once again, the crowd ate it up. Clips from that segment went viral too. His calm confidence made Walz's silence look even louder. Late-night hosts turned it into running jokes. If Walz smiles any harder, one quipped, his face might file for workers' comp. Others mocked the situation as the roast that turned into a political reckoning. The tone was funny on the surface, but underneath something darker had started to shift. For many viewers, this wasn't just entertainment anymore. It was a lesson in how fragile public trust really is. Somewhere in suburban Minnesota, a family dinner turned into a shouting match. A mother defended Walz, saying he'd done his best during hard times. Her teenage son pulled up the viral clip, shaking his head. "He's fake, Mom," he said. "Look at him." A neighbor overheard the argument through the thin winter walls and later admitted, "That night, I realized we weren't just watching the story. We were living in it." The emotional fallout spread fast. Fans of Walz posted heartfelt defenses online. Long threads about leadership, compassion, and mistakes. Supporters of Tyrus countered with sarcasm and screenshots. "Empathy doesn't excuse hypocrisy," one tweet read, gaining thousands of likes. Influencers joined the conversation, turning it into content. One popular commentator filmed it into content. One popular commentator filmed herself reacting to the confrontation, saying, "Tyrus didn't attack Walz. He mirrored him, and Walz couldn't stand the reflection." By midweek, the governor finally broke his silence. Standing behind a podium with the state flag behind him, he addressed the controversy indirectly. "Public service," he said, "means making hard choices. Sometimes you're misunderstood. Sometimes people twist your words. But I'll always choose to stay focused on the work that matters." It was a safe, polished statement. Too safe. Critics called it robotic. Even supporters admitted it lacked warmth. One political blogger wrote, "He spoke like a man reading instructions on how to feel." Tyrus didn't respond immediately. That made the moment even more unbearable. People waited for his next move like viewers waiting for the next episode of a hit series. When he finally did break the silence, it was during a podcast interview. The host asked if he'd heard Walz's remarks. Tyrus chuckled and said, "I heard him. I just didn't feel him." The simplicity of that line detonated online. In one sentence, he reduced an entire political defense to dust. Fans called it the mic drop of the year. But what really made this phase of the story wild was what came next. A leaked email thread, supposedly from within the governor's communication team. It wasn't confirmed, but screenshots showed aides debating how to handle the fallout. One message allegedly read, "The more we defend, the guiltier we look." Another said, "People aren't arguing about policies anymore. They're arguing about personality." Whether real or fabricated, the leak amplified the chaos. News outlets covered it like it was fact. Analysts dissected it on panels, and Walz's reputation took another blow. In the middle of it all, an emotional interview surfaced from a former colleague of Walz, a teacher who'd worked with him years ago. Her voice shook as she spoke. "He's not a bad man," she said softly. "He's just learned to be what people expect." That single quote hit differently. For the first time, the internet paused. Even Tyrus's fans admitted it humanized the governor. Some argued that maybe this wasn't about corruption, it was about pressure. The impossible balancing act of being both authentic and electable. Tyrus himself seemed to sense the shift. In his next appearance, his tone softened slightly. "Look," he said, "I'm not saying the guy's evil. I'm saying the mask doesn't fit anymore." It was sharp, but not cruel. The audience reacted with applause rather than laughter this time. The story had evolved from a roast into something resembling a reckoning. It wasn't just about Tim Walz. It was about every public figure selling sincerity like a brand. Still, the human drama refused to die down. Reporters camped outside Walz's office. Paparazzi tried to catch him off guard in grocery store parking lots. An op-ed headline screamed, "Can you still be a good person in bad optics?" Talk radio callers debated whether Tyrus had done the country a favor or crossed a line. Families argued about it over breakfast. Workplaces split into quiet camps. Even in comedy clubs, stand-ups began referencing the nice guy act as shorthand for hypocrisy. Then came another twist that sent everything spinning again. A short clip surfaced online, allegedly from a commercial break during the original taping, showing Tyrus and Walz talking off camera. It was grainy, muffled, but viewers swore they heard Walz say, "You think this is a joke?" And Tyrus reply, "No, I think it's a mirror." Nobody knew if it was edited, but that didn't matter. The mystery reignited the fire. Hashtags returned to trending. The confrontation wasn't just remembered now. It was mythologized. And through it all, both men remained strangely quiet, like two chess players who'd stopped speaking because the pieces were doing the talking for them. Walz kept to his schedule, shaking hands, delivering speeches that felt more careful than ever. Tyrus, meanwhile, rode the wave like a pro surfer, neither confirming nor denying anything, just letting the current carry him forward. By the end of the week, you could feel the fatigue in the air. Everyone had picked a side, but nobody felt satisfied. Walz's defenders said the moment was blown out of proportion. Tyrus's fans claimed it exposed political theater for what it truly was. Yet beneath all the noise, a subtle truth began to settle in. The line between truth and entertainment had blurred beyond recognition. And in that blur, both men had become something more than themselves. Characters in a story that no one could turn off. The final phase of the storm didn't arrive with another confrontation. It arrived with exhaustion. After nearly 2 weeks of non-stop speculation, both camps had started to feel the weight. Social media had chewed up every frame of that broadcast, and now it was chewing on itself. People weren't arguing about the facts anymore. They were arguing about each other's opinions, about bias, about what truth even meant. Still, the energy hadn't died. It had simply changed shape. And at the center of that slow-burning fire sat two men who had accidentally become the main characters of America's latest reality show. Tim Walz, usually unshakable, began to appear different. The crisp smile, the easy humor, they were still there, but they felt practiced now, strained around the edges. In one community event, a heckler shouted, "What act are you performing today, Governor?" The room went silent. Walz paused, forced a polite grin, and answered, "The act of showing up." The audience clapped, but the sound was awkward, uneven. It wasn't the applause of admiration. It was the applause people give when they're not sure how else to respond. Behind the scenes, insiders said he was fighting fatigue and frustration. One aide described him as haunted by the echo of that one line, "Your nice guy act is done." The phrase had become impossible to escape. It showed up on posters, hashtags, and even protest signs. Some used it as satire. Others used it as a weapon. It didn't matter who meant it sincerely anymore. It was viral truth, and viral truth always wins over real truth. Tyrus, meanwhile, seemed to thrive in the chaos. Every appearance he made brought new attention, new clips, new quotes. He'd become the accidental face of calling it like it is. Yet even he began to hint at weariness. In one late-night interview, when asked if he regretted going so hard on Walz, he hesitated for a moment before saying, "I don't regret honesty, but I didn't expect people to turn honesty into entertainment." The host laughed, but Tyrus didn't. He just stared ahead, eyes distant, as if realizing his own words had trapped him too. The narrative had spiraled far beyond both of them. Entertainment shows built montages about the nice guy unraveling. Political podcasts debated whether Tyrus had crossed a moral line. Memes mocked Walz's sweaters, his speeches, even his pauses. His once friendly image had become parody fuel. In response, his team tried to launch a rebranding effort. New photos, community visits, heartfelt videos showing him with families and veterans. But the internet wasn't buying it. Under every post, the same comment repeated like an echo chamber. "We've seen the act." Then came an unexpected twist that caught everyone off guard. A local reporter uncovered an internal memo from the TV network, revealing that producers had known in advance Tyrus might go off script, but decided to let it happen for the ratings. Suddenly, the narrative flipped again. Was it really Tyrus exposing Walz, or was it the network exploiting both for views? Outrage spread. People started demanding answers. Online voices shifted. Some defended Tyrus, saying he'd been used. Others accused the network of fabricating conflict. Walz's camp seized the moment, calling it proof the entire thing was performance. But by then, truth had lost its value. Everyone was acting, and no one could tell who was sincere anymore.